Alright guys, grab yourselves a coffee, get comfortable, and let's take a deep dive into the entire history of the Lincoln Navigator. We're going to walk through every single generation of this absolute unit, geek out over the engine specs under the hood, and of course, we can't talk Navigator without getting into that rivalry with the Escalade. So let's get right into it. This 98 Navigator absolutely blew everyone's mind. Think about it. Back in the late 80s and 90s, SUVs were just starting to shift from these bare-bones, super rugged off-roaders into family haulers. But a true luxury family hauler of this massive size? That wasn't even a thing yet. For its time, this SUV was an absolute unit. Depending on if you got the standard rear-wheel drive or the optional four-wheel drive, it was actually the heaviest production Lincoln ever made at that point. And get this, it was their very first car that wasn't a literal limousine to offer seating for more than 6 people. Under that giant hood, it launched with a 5.4-liter Triton single overhead cam V8, pushing 230 horsepower. Now, I know 230 horses sounds like literally nothing today, but for the late 90s, it got the job done. Still, they knew it was heavy and needed some serious pulling power. So later, they swapped it for a way more advanced 5.4-liter Intech dual overhead cam V8, bumping it up to a very solid 300 horses. And man, the market went absolutely crazy for it. People were practically begging for a truck that gave them that commanding, high-up driving position and tons of space. And buyers across North America just ate it up. In 1998 alone, they sold an insane 43,000 units. It was such a massive, monumental hit that it actually pushed Lincoln to outsell Cadillac for the first time since the 1940s. But it wasn't just about the sales numbers. The Navigator became an absolute cultural icon. Suddenly, every celebrity, pro athlete, and VIP had to have one. It was the undisputed king of the road back then. And honestly, to this day, the first generation remains the best-selling version in the Navigator's entire history, moving over 210,000 units over its lifespan. So fast forward to 2003, and Cadillac had finally woken up from their nap. They realized that their rushed, rebadged first-gen Escalade just wasn't cutting it, so they came swinging back with the second-generation Escalade packing a super-aggressive 6-liter V8. Lincoln knew they couldn't just sit still, so on the outside, the second-gen Navigator got this really subtle, but an incredible redesign. It looked way more planted, sophisticated, and just monolithic sitting on the road. Also, it was one of the very first full-size SUVs to drop the old-school truck stuff and offer independent rear suspension. Before this, these massive SUVs used solid rear axles literally borrowed straight from pickup trucks. Sure, they're great for towing, but on regular roads they are quite bumpy. And with this new suspension setup, they were able to drop the rear floor way down, which meant the third row finally had actual, usable legroom for human beings. And it opened up a ton of cargo space, really cementing it as the ultimate luxury family hauler. Under the hood, they mostly stuck with what worked, carrying over that trusty 5.4-liter Intech V8 engine with rear-wheel drive as standard and four-wheel drive as an option. But here is the bittersweet part of the story. Despite all this brilliant engineering, the market was shifting. That Escalade, dripping with aggressive swagger and packing way more horsepower, basically stole the show and came from behind to wipe the Navigator out of the pop culture conversation. The Escalade became the new default symbol for wealth and success in the media. So, even though this second-generation Navigator was objectively the better, more comfortable, and more practical vehicle, and it actually remains the second best-selling generation in Navigator history, this was exactly the moment when Lincoln's long, slow decline in market share really started to set in. So this is where the story gets really complex and, honestly, a little turbulent. This generation hung around for an absolute eternity. from 2007 all the way to 2017, and it had to face some seriously tough challenges in a market that was changing incredibly fast. When they pulled the cover off this redesign, it brought a super polarizing look. It was a seriously bold move. Some absolutely loved that imposing old-school flex, but a lot of people thought it was just way too flashy and didn't really mesh well. And under the skin, the early models kept the familiar 5.4-liter Triton V8, pushing 300 horsepower, but paired it with a brand new 6-speed automatic. And they also vastly improved and stiffened the frame, making it a serious workhorse. We're talking a massive max towing capacity of up to 9,000 pounds. But here is the catch. There was a bit of a mechanical downgrade. It actually lost the heavy-duty 2-speed transfer case you could get in the Ford Expedition. Instead, four-wheel drive Navigators got demoted to a light-duty, 1-speed, single-range transfer case with no low-range gearing. Basically, Lincoln figured their buyers were rolling up more to the country clubs than doing serious rock crawling. This generation was also, unfortunately, plagued by some pretty notorious mechanical gremlins, plus an aging design and an absolutely brutal competition from heavy hitters like the Escalade, Audi, and Infiniti. Sales completely fell off a cliff. By 2011, it hit rock bottom, barely moving 8,000 units for the whole year. The crazy part? The full-size luxury SUV market was actually booming after the 2008 recession, but the Navigator was just left sitting in the dust with stagnant sales. Lincoln threw it a lifeline for the 2015 model when they finally ditched the old Triton V8 and put in a brand new 3.5-liter twin-turbo EcoBoost V6, pushing 380 horses. Sure, the old-school guys missed the V8 rumble, but that EcoBoost delivered massive low-end torque and better MPG, making it feel surprisingly quick on its feet. Man, for the 2018 model, Lincoln didn't just come back, they came back swinging. This was a massive, triumphant return to form that completely rebuilt the brand. First things first, they put this massive rig on a diet. They ditched the heavy old steel body and swapped it for a high-tech, lightweight aluminum alloy body sitting on a high-strength steel frame, basically sharing its bones with the modern Ford Expedition and the best-selling F-150. And the powertrain? Absolute monster. They dropped in a high-output version of the 3.5-liter twin-turbo EcoBoost V6. We're talking 450 horses, though they did slightly tweak it to 440 in later years, and a ridiculous 510 pound-feet of torque. All of that power gets routed through a 10-speed automatic, and the acceleration is just effortless, for its size, of course. The market absolutely ate this up. By 2018, sales had skyrocketed 122% year over year. Lincoln was literally stealing buyers from Mercedes, Land Rover, and Cadillac, with over half of their sales being conquest buyers coming from other luxury brands. They finally figured it out. They stopped trying to build a sporty, aggressive Escalade clone and just fully leaned into building their own ultimate identity. It was a massive home run. Now, keeping it real, it wasn't 100% flawless. As the years went on, some owners started dealing with harsh, clunky shifting from that 10-speed transmission. But even with that mechanical hiccup, the 4th-gen Navigator is still widely considered one of the absolute best luxury SUVs ever built.